in terms of the 2014 Congress resolutions, it was agreed that we should have a convergence, an alliance, and a big tent. So the parties that joined us, we eventually became 7. In those parties, there was the MDCM, we had the PDP, the MDC, yours truly, NPP, Transform Zimbabwe, Zanundonga, and Christian Alliance. So those are the comrades that qualify. But what is then critical is that we are talking of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. So if those comrades meet the criteria of 6 months for them to join us, then we will talk about it. But what is critical is that there is need for us to understand each other. So those are the parties that are involved in the alliance. There's been a question that has been raised to say, what happens to the alliance partners? So these are our partners. Anybody outside this team, that person does not qualify because they did not join the alliance. Any further questions?
Where we are right now, we are MDC, Chet. Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes.
So, prior to where we stand right now, there has been some chatter of some people who have some feelings of some people who had who were of a different alignment. So, at least until at the point upon which the vote has been cast, can we at least make some of those members make a formal declaration of where they stand?
That's a tall order. What we're saying, my understanding is the alliance partners, for example, NPP, when it came to our fold, Comrade Mavaire was very clear. He said, we are coming to the MDC as card-carrying members. Until such time we have been groomed to understand the values of the MDC and the ideology. And I think it's only fair for us that all the comrades that have come on board, there is need for us to capacitate them in terms of our values and ideology. Because to me, I don't want to believe that they've come onto our fold just to make sure that they get positions, because it doesn't work that way, because they're not governed by our constitution. Having said that, it is then critical for us to then see how best we resolve that. Unfortunately, the National Council cannot resolve that issue until we get to the Congress, so that the Congress then ratifies that issue. Meaning to say, nothing then stops us to go back to the branches, wards, the districts, the province, and the national to make do the ills of the alliance. But for now, we can do it. The challenge that we have is people can then take us to the court of law to say this document does not accommodate the alliance, which is very true. So for us to correct that ill, that law has to be changed. And I'm hoping that when we get to the Congress, maybe that issue can be automatically corrected and those people accommodated. But the accommodation is going to be made clear to say how then best do we accommodate. Because if you look at our constitution, we have got the executive of any structure, and then we've got portfolio committees. Now, if you look at the trend now, the political minefield in Zimbabwe is very fluid. There is need for us to incorporate more positions within the portfolios. So what then is needed is that when we get to the Congress, we create those portfolios which will earmark for our partners. And at the same time, we also have a challenge with the trade union. Because the trade union is saying, we formed this party. After forming it, we are not being recognized. The same applies to our alliance partners. So that is a resolution that has to be made at Congress. When we do that, I am sure that we are going to correct that. Thank you. Any other question?
I understand there's so much interest in what is happening here today from those people from MDC team. And when I say MDCT, for everyone else, I'm talking about the Coupe MDC. So my question is, as we go into Congress, what room is there to say they want to come back? Is there for them to be able to be readmitted into MDC?
As a party, in terms of registration, our name is MDC. The issue of MDCT came in when the Welshman Ngube, the Sikalas 99, the Welshman N came into place. So we're going towards an election, and we're the challenge for us to differentiate between ourselves and these other guys that are using our name. That's why we put the T, which stood for Twangirai. So what we have done is we have reverted back to the MDC. So those that want to come back, in terms of the constitution, you need to apply to Harare and stating your reasons why you want to come back, why you left, and then the issue is tabled to the standing committee, which standing committee moves to the national executive, the national executives moves it to the national council, which is the only decision-making body in between congresses. That has to be determined by that. So for now, they do not qualify, because as far as we are concerned, those people are now a standalone party, which is run by Madam Togozani Kupe, the Bebes and the Kutus. So those that are interested to come back, follow the constitution, apply for readmission, and that will be considered.
Thank you very much. So are you saying for those in America today, if they want to come back to MDC, they have to apply to head office? Let's make that clear.
Yes. And those that went with Madam Kupe, we are not able to accommodate you for now because you left our party. So the moment you leave our party, you are no longer a bona fide member of our party. So for you to then to be readmitted in terms of the constitution, you have to reapply. A very good example that I can give you is Honorable Hlalo. Honorable Hlalo stood wanted to stand as the provincial chairperson for the Bulawayo constituency, Bulawayo province. When he did, things did not go down well between himself and Banda. So he took the issue to court. In terms of our constitution, if the moment you take us to the court of law and fail to exhaust the channels of disciplinary action, you have automatically expelled yourself. So you need to come back. I hear you. There are some comrades that left us and joined the Kupe faction by not knowing. So that's when we are looking for V11s for you to explain, to say, I joined here because I didn't know, or I joined here because of whatever reasons. Then what it happens is you then make your appeal, which goes to the organizing department, and then organizing looks at your appeal. If they feel that the decision that was made by the party was not good enough, it's then escalated to my office as the national chair. I then call a disciplinary committee, which we then sit and look at the evidence that we have submitted in terms of your reason for joining Honorable Madam Kupe. And then from there, we choose to say, was it your fault or you're just misled? And if we have got enough V11s to prove that we were misled, then we'll make a decision, which we'll then recommend.
Thank you. Well answered.
You're welcome.
With regards to this verification process, at province you have to have been a member for 2 years. So I'm asking whether that process is going to occur where members will self-declare their membership to prove that they have been party members or paid up members for 2 years. I don't think that process has happened, and so we just want to find out, and whether other people coming from other political parties are going to self-declare and at least go through a verification process to make sure that they're co-opted today and they're part of our province. So
verification is special for external assembly, especially US. It's going to be very difficult, comrade. Because as we speak, The resolution that was made by the National Council was that we need to dissolve you. I then said, I don't think it's fair for us to dissolve the external assemblies, because there's been a lot of conflict. What we need to do is, those that are still there, let's bring them on board that remained supporting the party. And then the incorporation will only come when we have done the Congress. Because currently, legally, we cannot be seen to be incorporating these comrades, because we will have the Rice and the Murimoka saga. Rice and Murimoka, President Tsvangirai appointed Mutsuri and President Chamisa to be vice presidents. And then they took us to court to say what President Tsvangirai did was ultra-virus to the constitution of the MDC. Unfortunately, they did not know that in the 2014 Congress, a president office was given the powers to appoint and disappoint. So verification is going to be very difficult, because after the Den Moyo issue, everybody went their own way. So what we're trying to do is to regroup you again, to make sure that we have a structure that you start mobilizing and bring everybody on board. So the leadership that we are going to elect today is the leadership then that is going to mobilize all these 300,000 people that are here. And the next 5 years, you are ready for action. So for now, we are working with the residue of the leftover of Den Moyo. And at the same time, let's not be found wanting by violating the constitution so that we could be taken to the court of law. And I think you must know that the courts in Zimbabwe are aligned to ZANU-PF. So chances of us winning that are very slim. But if we do an in-house thing, when we clean the US structure, after cleaning it, the mobilization that we have done, we have nothing to lose after we've done the mobilization and everybody's on board, including our alliance partners. So the next 5 years, the elections is going to be different because everybody is now on board. And again, they meet the initial template in terms of who qualifies for which position. Because if you look at this original template, it said for branch, it's 2 years, for ward, it's 3 years, for province, it's 5 years, and national. But that's why we wavered to accommodate the anomaly, if I may call it that way, for a better world, because we had a challenge where these structures did not exist anymore. And it's very impressive that we still have people. So that's why we resorted to the 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years in order to accommodate those of our comrades that were not happy by what the Den Moyo leadership did. Because there was no need for us to throw you away when some of you were caught by friendly fire. So we're trying to build up. All what I'm trying to say is, we're here to start our foundation. And I'm leaving you here as US to make sure that you build our house until roof level, so that when come next time, we are very clear in terms of our roles.